Hi, everyone. This is Joshua Hoffman, and welcome to another episode of the Masters in Marketing Agency podcast, where we deconstruct the why and how agency owners found their success, and in season 2, discuss the future of marketing. Today, I have Tyler Weese, the CEO of Scale Strategy, an e-commerce agency specialized in explosively scaling brands on Amazon. Welcome, Tyler.
Thanks. Yeah, excited to be here.
And so I want to jump right into it because I think you've actually done something that no other guest has done, and that's becoming a CEO of your company within the first 2 or 3 years of being hired, and all before your 32nd birthday. Are you 32 now?
Still 31.
So I thought, okay. Yeah. So I got to ask, why the heck did the founders trust you to run the company?
I guess I must be a pretty good manipulator, or a pretty good schmoozer, one of the two. So, no, yeah, I think there's been a lot of things, and mostly just credit to my team. We have a good group here at Scale Strategy, and we're located in a small town here in northern Utah, and just been really well connected for a number of years leading into this. So it's not like coming in with a fresh start. People kind of know your background and what you can or can't do coming into certain situations. So I think that's been a big part of where I'm at today.
You're too nice not to want to talk about yourself and throwing the team first. That obviously that's good, but I'm going to try to pin in things with you. You also played D1 football at Utah State. So I guess I just want to understand, is there anything from that experience that you brought to the business?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that's whether I realize it now or not, being a few years removed from athletics, I think that really is the foundation for me as a person. What drives me: setting goals, exceeding expectations, doing that quote unquote last rep, so to speak. I mean, it's everything. It's as I talk with my team, I think I feel more like a coach than I do anything else. Kind of that rah locker room talk, so to speak. And so, yeah, I mean, it's definitely been everything good in my life. We all have our experiences and upbringings, and thankfully for me, I think I got a large amount of experience and grit from my background in athletics, and it's been a really valuable thing for me thus far in my career, for sure.
Do you think athletes make good employees or leaders? Do you think there's almost a one-to-one there?
Yeah. And I don't even think it just I guess I don't really think it needs to just be in the form of athletics. I just love, I love seeing people that have done things above and beyond, just getting up and walking through life, whether that's athletics or, we have one of our best brand growth strategist. She is a musician, right? She's next level pianist. She went to school here at Utah State and pursued a music degree along with a business degree as well. And so, I just love seeing people that, challenge themselves, have passion in life, have something that they want to accomplish or excel at or do well in. And I think that for sure, finding people that, have a passion for something and can set goals and meet achievements, regardless if that's athletics, music, whatever it might be. Yeah, I definitely love, finding those people that have proven outside of a work environment that they can be successful and that they can be passionate about something.
Any music skills on your side?
No, but I joke a little bit. I can't sing. I cut the strings on my guitar when I was little so that I didn't have to practice anymore. My mom's like, "How did those strings break?" I have no idea. And I think that was the last week of guitar lessons for me. My mom got the point, but I regret that all the time. I wish I would have kept going with it. at the time it wasn't cool in my opinion, but
I get that.
My secret confession here, if we can keep it somewhat secret, is I'm a sucker for musicals. So, Newsies, Les Mis, like all those are kind of the givens, Hamilton, but I think I can really appreciate someone that can sing or can, do something musically, because I'm not in that boat.
I'll share my secret on that too. I also enjoy musicals and plays. So we're in the same boat there. Philly is actually a great city for all of that kind of stuff. And obviously New York being very close. Have you been to any shows in New York?
No, not yet.
You got it.
On the list for sure. So we've got a pretty good theater here in Utah, Hill Theater, that they do some pretty good work. And so been to a lot of shows there, obviously some here in the hometown and whatnot. But yeah, I've got a lot more songs memorized from certain musicals than people would ever imagine. When I can go word for word on the Wicked soundtrack, people turn their heads a little bit. Like, didn't you play football? Like, what's going on here? So,
I mean, Wicked was amazing. I don't go that level like my sister does. But no, I get it. I get it. It's good music too. It's like, it's catchy.
For sure.
I also, we're going totally off topic right now, but I also think it's an impressive medium of entertainment because, every night can be potentially different. Sometimes they do kind of mess up and they have to kind of pretend that they're not messing up. So you really are kind of on your feet and have to make changes game time, kind of thing. So
totally.
I think that's really impressive. So I actually want to keep going backwards before we talk about the business. And you also founded a company called Rettel Board, which was actually acquired. So can you kind of just tell us a little bit more about that story and maybe how it prepared you to be a CEO?
Yeah, absolutely. So going into the last season of me playing football, and by all means, you can look it up. I didn't have the most spectacular career, kind of working my way up the ranks and then got injured once I got to the collegiate level. But, as I was going through this injury to my back, realized that football wasn't in the cards anymore. And so, after 3 seasons playing, I realized, all right, well, what's next? And there's some dark moments there as far as, you've worked so far in your life to get to this point. You have aspirations to do certain things, and realizing that that's not going to be the case is always a hard pill to swallow. But recently got married. My wife wanted to get this wall decor piece, and it was a felt letterboard. I think it was like $150, which I thought was absurd for that type of product. So instead of spending $150 on that one product, figured out how to import, which is a process in and of itself. It was months and months and months of back and forth, and wow, that's not even close. All right, we're getting there, change this, that kind of thing. Anyways, instead of $150 for one product, ended up spending, 20, 25 grand on importing a whole bunch here into the States. Worked with one of my best friends. He was actually a partner among, some other partners, my dad being one, and another partner that helped us with the sourcing piece. And so, started up this little business my last year in college. I think I had like $18 in my bank account when I proposed to my wife after buying the ring, that kind of a thing. So anyways, went from, basically nothing, didn't obviously have a job while I was playing football. So just living on stipend checks. That was before, colleges would pay you like $1 million to come play football for them now. So missed that boat, but nonetheless, it was awesome. Like, I was everything along with my partner, sales, research and development, import, export, building the sales channel, getting everything live, content work, the janitor, all that and above. So it was great. We started landing, deals from like Nordstrom. We're talking with, every big box retailer at these trade shows. We built a booth out of like basically pallet boards that we smuggled into the trade show because we couldn't afford to pay like them to set it up for us. So we like smuggled stuff in and like set it up ourselves. And anyways, ran that company for a couple years. Worked out a deal with one of our wholesale partners to actually acquire the business, and then we jumped on board with them. My former partner and still current great friend is now the CEO of that company.
No way.
That acquired us, and so it's been a great run. I think I just word vomited a bunch of things your way, so you can take whatever piece you want out of that.
I literally have another question out of that. I think that's amazing, and props to you guys. What was the most complicated part of getting it started?
The complicated part of getting it started, I would say, I think we were just so inexperienced with like sourcing, and so getting the product here the way we wanted it with like language barriers being involved was like, it was never ending and like so daunting for us. And so once we got the product here, we were very confident in our ability to be able to sell, the product and market and do all those things. Right. And so like using social media, I mean, our generation has just kind of grown up with that. And so, that was the natural part. What was not natural was like trying to describe how to build this product and what specific pieces of this product needed to be exact and needed to be a certain way, was a little bit overwhelming. So I think it took us like 6 months, which is kind of embarrassing, but I think my advice for anyone, trying to start their own thing or, develop product, or they have an idea, like, you should always go back. Like you should always be able to look back and be kind of embarrassed about round one. Right. And I think that is a good thing. It's not like, the CEO of a company that I follow, Kuyu, it's a hunting company, but he's recently passed, but, he would always say like, when I look back on future former products that we've launched, like there's a sense of pride, but also there's this embarrassment, like, oh, why did we do that? Like we could have done this, and this so much better. And I think, if you're a newly aspiring founder or you have a small idea, like just start, like you can build things up over time and you can improve over time, but just get started and look back and laugh at it and be like, oh my gosh, can you believe we started with that? Like, look at how far we've come, right? I think people get so tripped up in it's got to be perfect and it's got to be, we can't launch yet because this little detail, isn't right. And that's not to say you shouldn't be obsessed with every touch point of your product or service. But you're always going to be, a little bit embarrassed when you look back at where you started, I think.
It's really funny you say that. I just had that thought this weekend. I watch like a Tarantino movie a week kind of thing. I'm just obsessed with his movies. And I just watched Reservoir Dogs again. And I was wondering, I wonder what Tarantino thinks when he goes back and watches this movie, like how much he must cringe at. I mean, it's still spectacular, but I wonder if he goes back and he cringes now because it was his first movie. And then real quick on the language barrier and kind of taking, 6 months. I remember I had a class in 6th grade where the teacher said, write instructions to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And, you as a 6th grader, you think, put peanut butter on bread, put jelly on bread. And she was like, no, it has to go all, undo the jar and pick up the knife. And I think you don't realize that it really takes all of that, especially when there's a language barrier, to make sure everything gets straight and everything. So,
yeah, for sure.
Good example.
Yeah. And I think too, they're like, we weren't the first ones with this product idea, obviously, but we were the second. And I think being second in today's world has a lot of advantages, right? Like, we learned a lot from the company that we mimicked, right? And, I think that there's a lot of that goes on, right? Sometimes it's about being first, but oftentimes it's about being better, right? Whether that's in quality, whether that's in branding, whether that's in price point. I think I think where we kind of found ourselves was we weren't necessarily the first, but we were an early adapter in this category. And so, that presented challenges just because we couldn't go to like a manufacturer that was already doing that exact thing. We were early enough that we didn't fall into that type of product. And so, when you think, people like, oh, I'm going to source a spatula. It's like, well, there's a billion companies or manufacturers that know how to build a spatula better than you do. And you can throw your branding on it and your spin and it's easy, right? But like I think a lot of the struggle, but also the success came from, we were an early adapter into, a category and, the challenges and the headwinds that, we probably pioneered for a lot of people that ended up, doing, the same thing for us and made money in the category as well. But, we went in and pioneered like, hey, overseas, this is the manufacturing infrastructure that they have, and this is what we need done. And this is kind of how we need to fit these pieces together in the puzzle to get this across the finish line. And so, there's give and take on both sides there. And I think, there's lessons to be learned all over the place. So.
Yeah, I think, a lot of times the first company actually has to spend a lot more money on education and marketing and getting the product out there, where the second company, and obviously MySpace, Facebook is like the easiest example. But a lot of times people will buy the second product or the second, market leader because they actually assume that they're working harder, right? Like the first person is content, the second one's trying to get to that. So a lot of people will buy that for that reason. Okay, cool. Now I want to get to the present finally. And can you just tell us a little bit more about Scale?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're a full service Amazon agency. We specialize in all things Amazon. So we really keep our blinders on. Walmart is kind of the up and coming marketplace. People have a lot of hype for it. We don't disagree with that. We think it's a great opportunity. But we just feel like there's so much more and yet to be mastered on the Amazon platform, and it's always changing. And so, we've really tried to keep our blinders on in the sense that, hey, we can be the premier Amazon agency that can tackle it all. And a lot of agencies are kind of going away from that. There's a lot of headache, as you can imagine, that comes with running a business on Amazon. Compliance issues, catalog issues. Working with seller support is like the longest running joke of all time because there is no seller support. It basically should be called seller neglect. And so, it just is what it is. And so, where we really have our strengths is we have a team that's very, very capable to do all things for anyone's Amazon business, whether they're a new launch, with which most agencies totally avoid. We have SOPs to really optimize and make this a smooth process for both sides. Whether you're a direct to consumer brand that's, always been scared of Amazon, but didn't know where to start. We've launched 3 of these in the past 6 months. Each of them has done, over $1 million in sales within the first, one was $1.2 million in the first 30 days. The next one was 1.4 in the first 60 days. So, we really have honed in our craft and have seen some explosive growth for our clients as well as ourselves as we.
Those are bonkers. And you mentioned blinders, and that's kind of where I want to go to now. And we spoke before, and you kind of mentioned refining your agency, and you mentioned spending a lot of time focusing on profitability and being value packed and being focused. So can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, for sure. We pride ourselves in being the right size agency. We've really been meticulous with our SOPs. In fact, all of last year was like the year of SOPs for us. And so, we want to be the right size agency because there's so many great brands that come to us and they say, oh, I've been working with X agency, like they've been the premier agency for years and they're so big and they're so cool and fancy and they have so many people that work for them. And that's great. But like our clients that are coming from these agencies are saying like, but they didn't care about us. Like we didn't get the time of day with them. And so, I think it's kind of similar to like what I went through in the recruiting process. And that is, where are you going to be the right size fish in the right size pond? And that's a big, big deal. Right. And so like if you're, a brand that's doing, $1 million a month or $5 million a month, $10 million a month, like really understanding like, well, what do you mean to the agency you're working with? And that's where we really try to come together and make sure that we're the right size fit for that client, knowing that, hey, your revenue to us matters a ton. Your revenue that you pay or your whatever, your contract to this large agency, like it does not matter 1 ounce to that person. Right. And so if they lose you in your contract, life goes on for them. For us, like we're hungry, we're motivated to make sure that every client we do say yes to is the right size fish in the right size pond. So we're big enough that we can tackle any company, no matter what, any amount of ad spend, any amount of revenue that they're driving, or projecting to drive. But we're small enough that, we have that hometown feel, right? Like you have our personal cell phone, you have, like it's a relationship that means a little bit more to us than it would to, those monster agencies. So
do you say no to any customers?
Yeah, for sure. Yep.
Amazing.
Yeah. So, if we can see from the start that like, it's just not going to be the right fit for us or for that relationship, then yeah, we definitely do. We do say no. And that's a hard thing to do. Like I've been on the other side of that. And I think that's not to say that their company won't succeed. We just don't want to put them in a position where it compromises the integrity that we want to have behind when we say yes. We want our yes to mean something and to have, that fervor behind it of not only yes, we want to work with you, but yes, we believe in your company moving forward on the platform.
And looking at the future, where do you see the Amazon space going in the next 5 years? You can take that any direction you want.
Man, I think, we've long seen Amazon as, as the marketplace that is, cheap or imported, brandless product that is just, serving a need. Right. And I think that's definitely repositioning. I think direct consumer brands need to pay attention and migrate towards Amazon. And there's ways now that Amazon has made this possible for direct consumer brands. So I see, Amazon at its core, it's a search engine, right? It's a product search engine. And so where I see, Amazon already going and continuing to go is, they want name brands within, the respective country that the marketplace is, whether that's the UK, the US, like they want it to be a global experience, but with local companies that, are driving traffic to Amazon and they're rewarding that with attribution. I think gone are the days of, knockoff imported, widgets, and, the rise of the brands is kind of upon us now. And so that's a huge area of focus for us, right? Like I said, we're taking on direct consumer brands that are doing, hundreds of millions of dollars direct to consumer and saying, hey, jump into an engagement with us for, 6 months or however long you want, a year, whatever it takes. But we can guarantee within the first 3 months, you're going to see X in sales, and use us to get you up and off the ground, and let's teach your guys' team how to manage this sales velocity and manage this platform, and do it on your own. If you want us to be in the background, as a safety net, we're happy to do that. But we've really seen a lot of success with these brands as we, basically launch them on the Amazon platform and take them from, 0 listings, $0 to millions of dollars in sales. So
yeah, I think, obviously having some kind of omni-channel approach and getting out of your D2C site, Shopify or whatever it is, or just retail or something like that, I think is usually a good growth strategy. A few questions I tend to ask at the end. If you had to teach something to other marketers, what would it be?
I think just authenticity, right? Like, don't be someone, or don't create a brand that you're not. It's just hard to find passion behind what you're doing, or be compelling when you're trying to be someone that you're not, right? Like me coming on this podcast today is like totally outside of my comfort zone, just because, it's hard, right? Like it's hard to like feel like, oh, am I being too braggy, or like, am I saying things that are, not authentic to who I am? And I told myself coming into this, like, well, no, you can be on a podcast. You just be yourself and, speak the truth and speak the facts. And so I think for any marketer, like, whether that's like your, for me, a large part of the livelihood of my business and the business that I run is, I need to be able to tell people the cool things that we're doing at Scale Strategy, right? And the brands that we're working with, Gab Wireless, they're awesome. They're changing the game for, devices and phones for kids, and, them being safe. And like, they've done a really good job of being who they are, right? They have this stance, and they have, this team behind them that believes in doing this for kids in the tech world that's evolving and, scary in so many ways. And so, as a marketer for myself, or as a marketer for a brand, like, be authentic to who you are, like establish your values, establish, what you're trying to accomplish, and be truly authentic to what those are.
I couldn't agree more with that. I came from the sales space, and what I always tell everyone is, I have my ways, and that's all I can like share with anyone else is how I do it. But I always preface, and I always make sure that they understand, like, this is me using my strengths. Like, you should obviously understand your strengths, and where I, build rapport galore. Maybe that's just not your strength. Maybe you're just not, great at shooting the shit with someone. So don't focus on that. Focus on like the value of the company and really talk about that. So I think even the way you approach something should be really authentic, because that's who you are, rather than trying to be like even your mentor or something like that. So I think that's really good. Are you guys looking to hire any positions right now?
Yeah, for sure. We have an operations role currently open. We want to have some good emphasis on like copyright ability. I know with AI and all that stuff, it seems like it's an obsolete thing to be hiring for, but it definitely isn't. Like, we like to have the human touch within our copy. The other roles that we're looking to hire for would be our brand growth strategist role. So whether that's entry level or, an experienced brand growth strategist that can run accounts and work with people, we're looking for both of those.
And last question, any books or podcast or newsletter recommendations?
Yeah, that's a loaded question there. I'll go with podcast.
No, it's going to be good when the person goes right when he's like.
I'll go with podcast. My cousin, he's actually in the solar cells industry up in Tri-Cities, and their founder and CEO actually runs a podcast called The Founder. And there's a lot of really, really good content in that podcast. His name's Chris Lee. So shout out to Chris Lee and his podcast. They're killing it. So,
and any books?
Books.
I can give you a but I'd rather not. I'd rather see what comes out.
they're so boring, right? Like I should say books are not boring. My recommendation right now is going to be a boring one. Potentially. It's called Traction. It's basically what we focused everything on last year and setting the stage for the growth that we're on this year. And so, yeah, it's definitely a good read for anybody that's, trying to really establish a healthy company, I should say, and a well-organized company that has traction and direction.
I don't know if you brought that up last time we spoke, or if someone literally in the last 2 episodes also said the same book. But advertising. The beauty of advertising is seeing it in 2 different places, and that's kind of when it like hits people. And having it in 2 different podcasts. I mean, obviously, that's something I have to check out now. As we come up to the end of the episode, I just want to give you an opportunity to mention how people can find you and anything else you'd like to end with.
Yeah, so I'm on LinkedIn. That's another thing. Like I said, it's just trying to promote and push on LinkedIn is just something that's not natural for me. And so I'm trying to push content that's helpful above everything. So yeah, LinkedIn's a great way to connect with me or Scale Strategy. You can also check out, obviously, scalestrategy.com. So.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on the show. And for those of you who've learned something new from this episode, please consider giving us a like or a follow so we can continue getting the highest quality guests. And as always, thank you for listening, Tyler. I thought this was really informative. Thank you so much for coming on.
Hey, thanks. Appreciate you taking the time to have me on.
Thanks for listening to the Masters in Marketing Agency podcast. I hope you got a ton of value out of this episode. And before we go, I just want to thank our sponsors, DevNoodle. DevNoodle provides marketing agencies with the ability to offer their clients unlimited website design, build, and management services with fixed monthly plans. If website design, development, and maintenance is holding your agency back from growing, please reach out to us at devnoodle.com, where we make websites easy for you and easy for your clients. devnoodle.com.